In Balboa Park, the Mingei International Museum has two collections of art on display which bring attention to the global refugee crisis caused by war and persecution, and the destructive fate of piñatas that never see the permanence of other art forms. We see hanging before us a worldwide art project started in 2019 called 25 Million Stitches. It was named to call attention to the estimated number of refugees in the world at the time, with one stitch representing one refugee. Unfortunately, the number only seems to grow with each passing year. The artists who have contributed range in age from 5 to 91 years old, and have donated their time and talents to raise awareness of the plight of those seeking asylum from the violence and unrest in their homeland. There are several reasons why people flee their country, including persecution, discrimination, and human rights violations. The most obvious is when a country is at conflict or war, but crimes such as corruption of the government, economic hardship, or natural disasters can also cause refugees to look for a better place to live. When a refugee leaves their country behind, they will need help to rebuild their lives, and organizations like the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees exist to support those in need. This organization provides refugees with legal protections, basic shelter, education for children, healthcare, and help with resettlement in a safe country. Russia's invasion of Ukraine started in February 2022 and has caused 8.2 million Ukrainians to flee their homes to safer areas internal to Ukraine or across Europe. Many families are being torn apart, as most men between 18 and 60 must stay to defend their country against the Russian invasion. The people who did flee Ukraine have become refugees in adjacent NATO countries like Poland, Romania, and Hungary. As of the middle of May 2023, the number of civilian deaths in Ukraine is over 8,800 people. To get a sense of this, there are 408 panels in this stitching installation. We would require 20 more exhibits, just like this one, to reach 8,800. Sudan is going through a similar crisis with two generals fighting for power and the capital city of Khartoum. Sudan has a past plagued with 3 civil wars and unrest during 40 years of the almost 70 years of its existence as an independent country. Since the current fighting began in April 2023, Sudan has seen 1 million people displaced within Sudan or across the border to countries like Egypt, the largest host of Sudanese refugees. Some conflicts persist not because one side or the other wants to prove their strength, but rather each is afraid to lose and face the consequences that come with that loss. Losing would mean prosecution for their crimes and possibly even execution. So they continue to fight, risking the lives of soldiers on both sides and forcing civilians to suffer or flee the country. These stitchings show a path that could be taken to end conflict on our planet. This one says all humans share 99.9% the same DNA. Why do we still have wars, violence, and the resulting displacement of people? Here's another that shows the 4 freedoms addressed in 1941 by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. When people are not given the freedom to speak their mind and practice their religion, or are forced to live in poverty and in fear for their lives, those in charge are doing wrong by the people. It's true that some are optimistic in how the world could be, and others state how things are more realistically. The worlds depicted in these stitched panels, when taken together, show the collective thought of the artists who have granted their talents to put a positive light on how others regard human beings leaving their homeland in hope of finding a better life. If all people showed more empathy and compassion toward others, the earth would be a better place to live. It may be too much to ask for, but an answer to diffusing any dispute before it becomes a full-scale war is given by this stitching with a simple solution. Be kind. Unlike most works of art, piñatas are made to be destroyed. In art museums around the world, people can see paintings or sculptures that have existed before they were born and will still be around after they are gone. In contrast, piñatas are seen at Christmas celebrations or birthday parties for only a few hours, where the highlight is their inevitable destruction. The artists who craft piñatas are fully aware of their temporary nature, and this exhibit at the Mingei International Museum allows others to appreciate the hard work, thought, and time that go into creating a piñata. To find the origin of the piñata, there are two main paths. The first is that they originated in China as clay or papier-mâché oxen filled with seeds and broken in springtime for good luck in the harvest. Through trade routes and cultural interaction, piñatas made their way into Spain and Italy by the 14th century, and to Mexico shortly thereafter. The second origin story says that Aztec civilizations broke clay pots filled with small treasures and seeds to celebrate the birthday of their god of sun and war. When the Spanish arrived in Mexico, they adopted the custom and piñatas became part of their culture during Christmas celebrations. Today, piñatas have a close connection with Mexican culture and tradition. One of the most popular shapes is the star. Traditionally, these have 7 points which stand for the 7 deadly sins named envy, sloth, gluttony, greed, lust, anger, and pride. By breaking a piñata with a 7-point star, it symbolizes the act of overcoming these sins. The reward is the candy or gifts inside. You can see how these 7 sins and their counterpart virtues are installed in another work of art by searching for and watching the San Diego Review on the UCSD Stewart Collection after this one. The number of points on a star can have a deeper meaning, as we've mentioned here, but it also may simply be a personal preference for its aesthetic appearance. Another popular shape is the burro or donkey. This animal carries and transports goods or people and stands for hard work, reliability, and humility. In life, the donkey is used in rural communities to plow fields or pull carts on farms. As a piñata, the body shape has a large hollow that can hold a substantial amount of candy, and it may also be easier to break open when hit by a stick. This painting is called a self-portrait by the artist, where he is like a fish out of water, or in this case, a piñata in a 17th century landscape. It represents him being in an unknown environment as an outsider, yet still able to smile despite the circumstances. The Tree of Life is a folk art tradition in Mexico with themes that represent biblical, mythological, or typical everyday scenes from modern life. They are handcrafted out of clay or ceramic and hand-painted with animals or figurines on the branches of the tree. Some have candle holders and are used as a candelabra, but it isn't necessarily a requirement. The Mingei Museum has a tree of life adorned with digital currency bitcoins and QR codes for NFTs or digital artwork. The artist was an immigrant from a country at war, and the proceeds from these digital artworks are intended to support the people of Ukraine. The Tree of Life can be used in ofrendas or altars to remember the deceased. In many cultures, including Mexican culture, candles are lit to honor those who have passed. The candles can be held by the Tree of Life, and the flame is thought to help guide departed souls toward the altar on Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. The flame symbolizes how the dead are still connected with the living and serves as a welcoming warmth for the spirits who have gone, as well as for the people who are living. Monarch butterflies have a migration schedule that coincides with the celebration of Dia de los Muertos in November. They spend their spring and summers in North America and fly south for the winter. Their metamorphosis from a caterpillar to a butterfly stands as a symbol of transformation and rebirth. It follows that they represent the souls of the departed coming to visit Mexico in the early winter. The piñata versions of these monarch butterflies are suspended at different heights, making the observer surrounded in a swarm of orange and black, just as when the monarchs make their annual migration of up to 3,000 miles. The migration itself takes generations to complete, as they typically live from 2 to 6 weeks. Although the final generation of the year can live up to 8 or 9 months. The Mingue Museum has an alebrije in the form of a ram with wings and what appears to be a reptilian tail. Alebrijes are a Mexican folk art of fantastical creatures made out of brightly colored paper mache. They are the creation of Pedro Linares, who in the 1930s fell into a coma during an illness and had visions of these vibrant hybrid creatures screaming the word alebrijes to him. At first, the creatures he made out of paper mache were too scary to be sold or purchased. His son and grandson modified the figures to be more harmonious and acceptable, with more colors, feathers, ornaments, and crests. Their style became popular, and now many people create alebrijes across Mexico to display and celebrate what has become part of Mexican folk art and part of the identity of the Mexican people. Mexico City holds an annual parade of alebrijes to commemorate this art form. Entries are judged and awarded prizes. Here's a piñata portrait not of an alebrije, but of a real white tiger that could be equally as deadly as it was magical. This is Manticore, the white tiger from the magic show of Siegfried and Roy in Las Vegas. It became confused on stage when being asked to say hello to the audience into the microphone and attacked Roy, nearly taking his life. Some piñatas are influenced by other marginalized works of art. Illuminated texts of the medieval period literally marginalized art around the border of the written words. Their purpose was to appeal to the wealthy and powerful, and to increase the value and pride of ownership. Animals had different meanings. For example, a bird could indicate freedom or rising above an obstacle. This one walks on 2 legs, has scaly wings with a long neck, and the head of a rabbit with extremely long ears. Some illuminated drawings combined human and animal features. This is a small girl merged with a boar or a pig. The quality and attention given are intended to have others acknowledge piñatas as a valid artistic medium. In the late Middle Ages, Hieronymus Bosch created this triptych, or 3-panel oil painting. On the outside, with the side panels closed, is the 3rd day of the world's creation, with plant life on the planet and God on the upper left. When the panels are opened, they reveal the Garden of Earthly Delights, with all of humanity and other species living on Earth. The painting is very complex. and more information can be found online. We're focusing in on a few small parts. On the left panel is the Garden of Eden. Look at this white giraffe standing next to a two-legged dog. Here is the very same one standing as a piñata in the Mingue Museum. Not only is it realized in 3 dimensions, but we can see the expression on its face, as well as the right side of its body that has been hidden from view for over 500 years. Now, look in the center, to the lower left of the circular pool. To the right of the porcupine is a black bird on top of another, eating a piece of round fruit. Here they are as piñatas standing on what appears to be a pomegranate fruit. Because piñatas normally hang from above, we can clearly see under this one and also admire it from other angles. Here's the third and final one to look for in the painting. It's at a different angle, but should be easy to locate. The bird is perched on a tree made from a human artery or heart material. It appears to be feeding humans below that look up at the fruit in its beak. In the Mingue Museum, the tree and the bird have been scaled up to life size, and we, as observers, are now transported into the painting to see from the perspective of the humans waiting below to be fed the fruit held by the giant bird. Piñatas are normally built in 3 dimensions, as they are meant to be hung in the air and hit with a stick. This is an actual oil painting of a piñata with a painted shadow. By making it 2-dimensional, the artist has effectively saved it from destruction and preserves it to be appreciated as a work of art. Here is a painting by the artist Velasco, depicting a valley in Mexico. In the Mingue Museum, it is transformed into a landscape using piñata materials. Another painting created over 130 years ago by the same artist is used as a model and reimagined in 2 dimensions in piñata form. Again, by using 2 dimensions, the artists are encouraging observers to recognize their works as art pieces, rather than temporary creations to be destroyed by a blindfolded child or adult wielding a stick. These wall art piñatas are used to express opinions and thoughts of the artists on social or political issues. For example, this one explores the relationship between reality and how it's reported or portrayed on television. The COVID pandemic definitely influenced everyone's lives and families, and so many are glad to see it here as a piñata to be smashed with a piñata stick. The vaccine that was developed to save us can also be destroyed as a gesture of good riddance to the pandemic. The isolation and fear brought on by COVID-19 forced us to look into the health of our physical and mental well-being. About the same time, there were other issues needing attention, and piñatas served as an outlet. For example, we see before us a miniature 55-foot border wall made as a piñata. What's implied is that piñatas are made to be destroyed. A larger version was created, and that is exactly what happened. Piñatas can show items we are familiar with, like this pair of shoes. The female artist has words of warning on the toes, particularly for women. They say, "It's too late at night to walk alone." A set of keys is another common item. The same artist explains how her mother taught her to carry the keys in between her fingers, spread just as they are here, to be used in self-defense if needed. A 22-foot rosary matches the large scale of the 2 previous piñatas. and is titled Guilty for Being Made Out of Paper. A bag of flaming hot Cheetos and a laptop set up for an online meeting have also been turned into piñatas. There are notable figures from Mexican culture, like a folklorico dancer, a girl dressed up for her quinceañera, and a piñata of the famous singer Selena. This drone piñata really does fly, but not while on display at the Mingue International Museum. It would be interesting to see someone hit it with a stick while in flight. It reads, "I'm watching you," on the front. Here is a cage with citizenship applications and dollar bills on the outside. The door to the cage has so many keys hanging from it and birds escaping the open door. The word freedom can be seen trapped inside. What does it mean? There is no insight given on the exhibit label. However, there is an expression that comes from a song written in 1900 called "A Bird in a Gilded Cage." This gilded or gold-plated cage appears to be an opulent and glamorous place to live, but instead it's restrictive and suffocating for those inside. Once you arrive at your destination or get what you've always wanted, it may not be as good as you expected it to be. This piece is called "In God We Trust" and focuses on the situation piñateros or piñata makers find themselves in. The chains signify all the effort put into creating something that will eventually be destroyed and thrown in the trash. The hand wears a watch, showing the time pressure to produce piñatas at a fast pace. The penny shows the small profit earned by making and selling traditional piñatas. The artists who created this want people to appreciate the hard work and talent it takes to design and build piñatas, and hope that their profession will earn the respect and payment it deserves. This piñata resembles a stalactite formed organically in a cave by water. How do we remember which are stalactites and which are stalagmites? Stalactites have the letter C and grow from the ceiling. When visiting caves, we are encouraged to not touch them, as the oils from our skin can stop them from forming. Piñatas are inanimate objects, only moving when pulled by the string they hang from. What if a piñata was a person? Would we treat them differently? These suits are designed to be worn by a performer to see how we react. Here is the opposite, making the blindfolded stick wielder into a piñata. This shows nothing lasts forever, including the person with the stick that breaks open the red piñatas behind. The largest piñata on display is this life-size lowrider car. Lowriders themselves are forms of self-expression and have been in San Diego since the 1950s. This one is inspired by several legendary lowriders. The hydraulics on lowriders allow the cars to lower to the ground, ride higher or while tilted, and even perform hops or jumps. Since 1992, National City has had a cruising ban because of concerns with traffic congestion and public safety. After over 3 decades, this ban is officially lifted, and the signs prohibiting cruising have come down as of May 2023. The people who put time and effort into modifying their suspensions, customizing the interiors, or painting unique artwork on the outside, take pride in what they create and see it as an art form and cultural tradition. Some even say that ethnicity and racial lines disappear. because their mutual interests unify them into a single lowrider community right here in San Diego. If you enjoyed this video and all the original music on this channel, help this channel grow for free. Leave a comment below, click like, share this video with others, and most of all, click subscribe. Thanks for watching San Diego Review.